and Jennifer's Tigers, right? So it is a poem which is illustrating, means describing uh, the concern of the poet, towards the feminism, right? Or called as a feminist, right? So this is the poem which is uh, narrated or beautifully uh, decorated um, in the male dominant world. In the male dominant world means where? Means the glass barrier is created, where woman is taken uh, as a concept of sexual object, right? So, and a woman, right, of a time was only supposed to be a dutiful homemaker, right? So she was considered as the, means, childbearing and um, a kind of a homemaker, right? So to prepare food and nurture the baby, right? So the poem through the world of Aunt Jennifer tells us about, means, Aunt Jennifer's inner desire, inner interest to free herself from the, you can say that, clutches of an abusive marriage. The hold of, means, abusive marriage. Abusive marriage means the marriage that made her slave, the marriage that put a woman to live uh, in a kind of means to lose the kind of independence, right? And in the kind of a society which is known for patriarchal, right? So that is why the poet tries to expresses the inner feelings of a woman, Adrienne Rich. So tries to do what? Expresses the inner feelings of a woman. So who is that woman actually? Aunt Jennifer. So in this poem, the poet is stating that the aunt is stitching or weaving a motif, right? So stitching or weaving a motif, or called as a matter, right? That consists of energetic and energetic or fearless tigers moving freely around the bright greenery, or you can say that a kind of a, means, it's a jungle. So she is living a life of submissiveness, right? Who? She means referring to the woman, Aunt Jennifer, living a life of submissiveness to her husband's order. Her acts are dominated. Uh, you can say that her actions, right? Whatever she does, so she is dominated by her husband. She fears, she afraid of her husband uh, constantly or continuously. So the pattern of the free and fearless tigers, the pattern, means, of the free and fearless tigers reflects her inner desire to live a free and fearless life, right? So if you talk about that, the tigers are graceful, elegant, and bright. Now when we are talking about, means, where that tiger actually comes out, now you will find out that at the beginning I pointed, the aunt is weaving, right? or stitching or designing a particular matter, right? So there you will find out the picture of the tigers, and these tigers are graceful. The meaning of graceful is called as a means beautifying. They are elegant, means, and also bright in color. So on Jennifer's fingers, which is nothing but a shaking, trembling, while she is doing what? Embroidery, or called as a stitching, weaving those designs. And Jennifer is old, but still she afraid of her husband. She does not enjoy the kind of a freedom to do anything as for her wish, as for her means a desire. She is afraid of doing the embroidery, or that called as a stitching too, and afraid of it, means afraid of her husband's anger. Since the day she got married, right, she has been fulfilling what? The demands of her husband. The wedding ring on her hand is nothing but a constant reminder that she belongs to her husband, right? So that is what called as a, she lives in a kind of a man's, what do you say, that a captivating situation, right? So the burden of the demand, the burden of the demanding marriage was nothing but a very tired fool for her. The kind of a disturbances will not, a determined will not end until the woman dies. Even after means on Jennifer's death, so she believes that the ring will remain on her hand and she will never be free, right? On the other hand, the tigers that she is designing, she is weaving, she is putting on her embroidery will continue to move around freely forever, and her desire of freedom and fearlessness will live on through her tigers. Her desire means she wants to get the freedom. She wants to get the kind of means a fearlessness life uh, on through her, kind of a picture she made on the uh, embroidery, that's called as a tigers. So the whole idea wants to point out the kind of a allegory, Allegory. What is that allegory? An allegory reflects the symbolism, right, present in the poem. That symbolism is nothing but referring to the tigers, right, present in that particular uh, embroidery, which is created by Aunt Jennifer. Now, if I talk about many of the other, so what do you say, that many of the other um, different type of literary devices, right? You would find out that the poem uh, consists of nothing but the rhyming scheme, which is AABB, right? AABB. It also consists of the idea of anaphora, right? So using the consecutive lines, like when we read it, we will come to know that anaphora. Even the poet uses of the metaphor, that's called as a comparison, direct comparison, which is also very essential part of it, right? So if you talk about, the poet used the word called as a topaz, which is nothing but indication of the comparison, right? So the poet also used another one that's called as alliteration, right, which will also be found in this poem, right? So you find out the rhyming scheme, allegory, anaphora, and what do you say that alliteration. So these are nothing but the means you can talk about the figure of speech or poetic device in that poem. Now let's go for the poem. The first stanza, which is stated what? Aunt Jennifer's tiger, right? Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen. Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen. Bright topers, denizens of a world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in slick, chivalric certainty. Right. Now, please do concern to the words which have been found out here. Right. That's called as a prance. Right. And Jennifer's tigers, it means indicating about means the lady, right? She, the poet addresses is none other than the Aunt Jennifer. And what she does actually here, she is weaving, embroidering, right, a piece of cloth, right? So it could be a anything, right, that may be called as a tablecloth or a means curtain or a wall hanging, right? Anything. So, but the kind of embroidered she does in that, uh, what do you say that cloth shows nothing but the tigers. Pattern shows the tigers who are moving and jumping. That's why the poet stated, and Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen. Prance means that refers as a moves or jumps here and there or plays together or called as a jumping around, right? So that is what the picture she makes it on that particular cloth, right? So they were all around moving, jumping over the fabric. So it is also stated bright topaz denizens of a world of green. It indicates that these tigers are bright yellow in color, right? So topaz is indicating as a bright yellow in color, like the color of the topaz denizen, right? Or topaz stone, right? So this line is clearly indicating about the metaphoric language, right? Because the tigers are directly compared with the what? Stone, topaz stone. How it looks like? It looks like yellowish in color, right? Like the color of topaz stone. So the tigers are also looking like that color. It is also stated they do not fear the man beneath the tree, right? They pace in slick, chivalric certainty. So the poet wants to say that means they were moving. Where they were moving? They were moving in the dense great forest. The dense great forest means that called as a huge forest, right? So green forest, right? So it is nothing but the home of these tigers. They are the proud and fearless. Who were the proud and fearless? These tigers, proud and fearless of this forest, animal in the forest. But there is a contrast. What is that? Now, Aunt Jennifer and her tigers. What is that? Now, the tigers are fearless. But what about this lady who is, weaving, embroidering these tigers on her clothes, right? It's not so. So the tigers look elegant, the tigers look shining, the tigers look full of the gentleman's grace, right? So, but at the same time, if you look into the uh, omen that called as Aunt Jennifer was fearful, reserved, shaking, afraid of her husband, dependent, and always feel like she is in a slave. So there is a huge comparison you would find out that means the kind of a woman and the kind of a embroidering she does. The poet is describing means that Aunt Jennifer is doing embroidery and her means her idea presents the nothing but a opposite viewpoint, right? So that is what called as allegory in the sense, right? So in this case, you will find out means in this particular first stanza, you find out the rhyming scheme is clearly show about AABB, right? And beside that also, like you can talk about the word is pointed, screen, green, free, certainty, right? So free, screen, green, free, certainty, AABB. Now also you find out that refers as a anaphora. Anaphora means like called as the same words in two consecutive lines. That called as a they do not and they pace it. Right? They do not fear the man beneath the tree. They pace in sleek chivalric certainty. So if I am talking about sleek chivalric certainty, then I can talk about that sleek is indicating as a beautiful, elegant. Chivalric is indicating as a means careful, especially to women, or an act of the gentleman. That is what chivalric represents. Do you understand the first stanza?
Yes, sir.
So the this first stanza also carries with nothing but metaphoric. Uh, just a minute, I have a 4% power source, so I need to plug my Mac. Okay, done. Yeah. Uh, so where I was just talking about the first stanza where we found out some figure of speech which are known as means anaphora, metaphor, and means the rhyming scheme which I pointed. So metaphor is nothing but a comparison. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so metaphor is referred as a nothing but a comparison. So the comparison is here the tigers with the topaz stone, right? So here you will find out the use of topaz, which is nothing but a stone, yellowish color stone, to describe the color of what tigers, and it does not use with a as or like. It is a direct comparison. Therefore, it is known as metaphor. Now, let's move to the next one. The next stanza would be referred as Aunt Jennifer's fingers. Aunt Jennifer's fingers through her wool find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. Right? Now, what the first line says means Aunt Jennifer. So, who is the means protagonist of the poem, right? Or main character of the uh, Adrienne Reed's poem uh, that's called as Aunt Jennifer's Tigers. So, Aunt Jennifer, the lady, right, whose fingers fluttering. Fluttering means what? That called as a shaking, right? She was shaking. Why? Na, while she was weaving or while she was embroidering So through her wool, so what happened to her? Now her hands are shaking because of the fear of her husband. Find even the ivory needle hard to pull, right? So she find even the ivory needle hard to pull. Now, if you see that she is pursuing her hobby, right, in her free time, right, you can say that, but probably she is still afraid of her husband who could scold her. That is what it is stated. Find even the ivory needle hard to pull. Means she finds it difficult, right, to weaving the means weaving that particular picture on the cloth, right? So it is nothing but a kind of a means free time where she fulfills her desire, but the kind of a fear for her husband, right? Because she thought that her husband could scold her if he came to know that, right? The massive weight of uncle's wedding band, right? So you can also see that it has also come into the other way. Her fingers are so tired of working endlessly or continuously all her life, right? So the needle is also heavy for her, even to pull out uh, of the cloth. So that's why find even the ivory needle hard to pull, right? So even that means a small needle is also difficult for her to means uh, use in the cloth or to pull out of the cloth. The massive weight of uncle's wedding band. The word uncle's wedding band, as the band was bought by her band watch bought by her husband. It is it is still today. The words uncle's wedding band uh, is nothing but a kind of a means term which is indicating about the band. That band was bought by her husband, right? It is his till today. The lady is dependent completely on her husband, right? So she is still burdened by the weight that the weight draws out from the ring, right? Weight here means that encirclement or trapping that has fallen upon, you can say that fallen upon her by getting married to him. She had been burdened. She had been burdened by the duties, that's called as the duties, obligations of married life, the rules that has becomes that has become the man's property. Who now the woman Aunt Jennifer real thinks that she becomes the man's property. She has been living a kind of a demanding life, due to which she you can say that worn out in her old age, right? So it's something like a what realization, right? So if you see that, it is beautifully pointed that Aunt Jennifer's fingers moving or shaking through while she was embroidering her wool, right? She finds even the weak, small, right, without any strength of the needle, difficult to pull out of that cloth. So she feels that the massive weight of uncle's wedding band. So after getting marriage with her husband, she felt like what? Now she was brought to the means her husband's house with this band, and this band is so huge, right? And the weight of that means that ring is so huge that means she has to survive till her death, even after her death. So the ring will uh, the ring will not means the ring will not be removed, right? So she feels that it's a kind of a Hello, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Uh, so she also feels that means sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. She has been a kind of a life. She has been living a kind of a life where she feels that she is nothing but a burden, right? Okay. So in this particular stanza, also you would find out the rhyming scheme of this poem is again AABB, and here there is an alliteration, repetition of the sound. Here the sound, you can say finger fluttering is repeated. So therefore it is known as alliteration. Now, the next stanza is called as the third stanza, right? I think this will be the last stanza. So third stanza stated, when aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie. When aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie, still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. Now look into it. When aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie. What does it say? So Aunt Jennifer, Adrienne Rich stated about the man's omen that her wish to live a free life, right? So fearless life, and that is what indicated by her choice of design. It's called as a tigers. So it shows her innermost desire of being strong, uh, fearless, which has been nothing but a means excessively overpowered by her husband. That's why probably you can say that means when the third stanza stated that when aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie. It means she says that probably her ordeals will end upon her death, right? But she had a kind of a fear. What is that? Now, shaking fingers will be put to rest. Shaking fingers will be put to rest. But still, even after death, the ring shall remain on her hand. Her husband's rule over is not yet over. After the death, so means her desire of freedom and fearlessness shall remain alive in these tigers which she decorated on the cloth, which she has embroidered, right? So, on the basis of that, if you talk about the word called as a ordeal, it's nothing but an extreme test or severe test or experiences, right? So, the poets stated in the last stanza that obviously when aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie. So means the same hand where her finger means a ring is you ring is connected or ring is used. So that ringed will or that ringed with ordals means that ring will experience, still ringed with ordals or still ringed with experience she was mastered by. She was once experiencing earlier and will experience after that. So the tigers on the panel that she made, so the tiger which she decorated on the cloth, so they will experience or they will enjoy the freedom, right? Will go on moving around, will go on prancing. Prancing is called as a moving here and there, proud and unafraid, right? Now, this clearly highlights the poet's ideas that one can easily draw it that the aunt's desire of a desire for freedom, liberty, and uh, fearlessness through her decoration of beautiful picture of tigers on the cloth. Further, in addition to that, she means who the poet also stated about um, Aunt Jennifer says that it is not possible, right, to achieve this freedom during in her lifetime. She will attain it only after her death. But the irony, the opposite idea, or the deeper part of the idea is that what? Now, still, she will be tied up. She will be bound with the, shackles in the form of her husband's wedding ring. Shackles, it's called as something which is attached in the form of her husband's ring, wedding ring. The ring was the sole proof, means only proof of the tortures which she had faced from her husband. On the other hand, uh, there are the tigers which she decorated on her clothes. They always depict the desire of Aunt Jennifer living free, right? So, as living free and fearless and jumping proudly and bravely on the piece of glass. So, uh, the idea clarify clearly that whatever is the desire of the woman Aunt Jennifer, that will be fulfilled by her decoration or her embroidering on the cloth, right? So that is what all about this poem. So the poem carries with literary devices, like you can say the rhyming scheme will be AABB, right? And here also you will find out the alliteration part is present. Uh, so you can say prancing proud. So purple, right, which is the sound of alliteration, right?